and welcome to this demonstration of using a JavaScript library of choice, and our choice here is Shoelace, to render a Siebel application in, well, a different way. As you can see on the screen right now, we're looking at the contact list view. So if you check the URL, that's really the case. So we are in a Siebel application call center, looking at the contact list view, which is all contacts. And well, I have emulated an iPad, so a mobile solution, and each contact is displayed as a card with its data on the card. So this is a very primitive example. It's just rendering the first records that are in the record set. There's no navigation, no selection, no editing. It's completely read-only. I just want to, in this demonstration, bring home the point how to, well, replace the standard UI or hide it away and replace it with something else. And even if this is just a simple primitive prototype, it's surprisingly lightweight. So it's just a few functions that make this possible. And of course, the third-party library, which does all the heavy lifting. So let's go into a little bit of a demo before we take a look at the very implementation. So here is a menu on top. The menu shows the screens of the application, screens that are currently visible to the end user. And let's just go to the administration product screen. And this shows a list of products as expected. So this is, of course, the list applet that is in the view, but the data is rendered differently. The menu of sorts has a twist to demonstrate the ability of the Shoelace framework to automatically add or expand a tree. So this is a tree, and administration product is just going directly to the view. So what happens if we click, for example, accounts? Then we see that it expands into recent records. We see some recent records and frequently viewed accounts. You might recognize these features as being part of the account homepage view. So we are indeed at the default view. It's a vanilla application. That's the account screen homepage view. So we're just more or less scraping the content of that view and rendering it differently as selectable items in a tree. So what happens when I select my accounts? This goes to the My Accounts view, as would do the link on the homepage view. And then, well, we see the list of accounts again. So this is a very different paradigm. It's not the usual Siebel navigation style, but it's, well, something different. And we want to try something different today. So let's start investigating. I've opened the Sources tab in the Developer Tools, so I can see that there are the typical Siebel sources. And in the Scripts folder, Siebel, there's a custom file, bcrm shoelace.js. There's also a custom file in the Files folder, so a CSS file, which, well, helps me with the styling here. So these two files are the whole solution practically. And here we are in Web Tools looking at the manifest administration. So you see what registration is necessary for these files. So you have to register the file in the manifest files list, of course, first, and then go to a custom entry for platform independent, application common. And this is the entry I created for this demo. Ignore the first one. And here I have registered the file without any expressions. It always loads. And that, of course, has implications. So the application will not look like your Siebel application because of the JavaScript and style. You notice that only the JavaScript file is registered. That is because we use an injection technique to register the style sheets and the third-party library from within the code in this very file. And here we are looking at the very code of the BCRM Shoelace JS file. So we will go through the code in this demonstration, as this is an Open UI code along. You will find the code as well on GitHub. Check the link for the description. So we have a few globals here. And then we have, actually this code runs when the file is loaded. So we use one of these globals, BCRMSL loaded, to identify has the third party or any auxiliary files been loaded already. Then there's a little bit of check. If Shoelace is already registered, then we don't do it, but if it's not registered, we do it. So we declare one link, one script, and another link for the custom style sheet. So the first two are practically the Shoelace CDN URLs. We load the light theme and we load the Shoelace JS just from the CDN. And then we have the BCRM Shoelace CSS already in the custom folder, so we load it from here. So this will prompt the browser to not just add these entries to the header, to the HTML header, but also of course load these files so the functionality is available. And then we set the semaphore to true, and so it will not be repeated. Okay, then comes a bunch of functions. We'll come back to these functions then. The main function actually is, since this is an application common file, the functions will be available but not executed unless we call them. And I'm scrolling down all the way because here I have defined the listener for post load, and here's a post load event handler. So very classic Siebel configuration, because it's a very global application, waiting for a view to be completely loaded and then scraping content of that view, and of course hiding the view itself is happening in best in the post load event. So this function is really executed every time a view is loaded or has finished loading. So we can take a look at this function here. So that's the post load handler. So first we establish the view name, because we have a few conditions based on the view name. We establish the applet map, and then we call the first function, which is add container. So let's go to that function here. There it is. So that container or add container function declares a bunch of diffs, nested diffs, a Shoelace container, a top navigation with a title, a view container, and a bottom navigation, and then appends all these and adds it before the SWE client, which is the uppermost div in a desktop application. So this is just empty now. So the remaining functions will fill it with life. So let's go back to the post load handler. The next function it calls is add nav drawer button. The navigation drawer or nav drawer, you saw it in action, is that side menu. And we're using Shoelace, and the Shoelace component type that we're using here is a drawer. So, and we need a button to open it. So add nav drawer button, and let's check it out. So as you would expect, we declare a button. We also declare an icon. Now, for various reasons, I use a technique to load the icons as a source. So there is the base URL for the CDN. So it's loaded directly from the CDN for various reasons. And check if the button does not exist, and then define a div. So that's just a container, and then it's the first of many instances where we use Shoelace. So here we use SL icon button, and let's check out its definition in the Shoelace documentation. So go to shoelace.style, and this is the page where you can, well, check out how to load it. You've seen that part of the code already, and there are all the component types. So we're using icon button. And so you have a simple example here, so you can check out the source, copy that. And as you can see, the Shoelace markup is, well, it's HTML markup, but of course it's interpreted by the Shoelace library and then results in web components to be generated on the fly, and modern browsers support web components. You can read all about this on the homepage here. So one line creates a button that looks cool, and you can of course have different sizes and colors and different icons and all that. And there's just a regular button as well if you need one. So with the help of this documentation, we can put together the code. So here we add a class to that button, an icon, and well, that's literally it. It's a bit of style here. Should be in the style sheet, but okay. So then we find the button, and you might notice some of you might frown at this, but since it's using Siebel Open UI and jQuery is loaded as with Siebel Open UI, I just rely on jQuery to construct these elements. And often I use jQuery find to find the element and on to define a click event handler, for example. So here's a click event handler, and there are various ways to define this, but it calls a function with an option, expand home false. So that happens when you click the button, open the navigation drawer. So let's take a look at open nav drawer. So this open nav drawer function, the purpose is to open the navigation drawer that is constructed. So we have, first of all, we need content. So the content in our case is a list of screens. And now it gets interesting. How do we get the list of screens? And brace yourself, it's a primitive mechanism. So we have a function, get nav drawer content. And then we have another function to get the drawer, and then we put the two together and, well, prepend it to the top navigation custom container. So let's take a look at these two functions. Get nav drawer content first. So this is the most complex function because it populates the drawer and also takes care of the expansion of the tree. So we use actually SL3, the Shoelace tree component. So we just declare an empty tree here, and we have to get the screens. So there's another helper function here, get navigation. Well, let's check that out. So how do we get all the screens? Well, first we have to say, it's also noted in the comments, that you have to run, or you should run, in the side menu mode of Siebel, because then the side menu has all the screens that you ever opened through sitemap, etc. in your session. And what we're doing is simply get the unnumbered list with the class of UI tabs nav, and we get the first one. So this is the list of screens, literally, list of tabs or elements in the side menu. And in that screen list, for each LI, we, well, run a bit of code. So we get the unique ID, which is aria labeled by, well, held in that attribute. And we check if it's defined, and then we get the text, the username, we check if it's active, and then we build the screens list. So this is the first screen, and it has 3 attributes or properties: a unique identifier, a label, and a flag if it's active or not. So one screen is always active. So that is returned. That is a JSON object that's returned here. So here we get the screens list. There could be more in that navigation object, but we are interested in the screens list. So now we have our empty tree, and now we iterate for the screens. So, and if the active flag is checked, we set a variable selected to a value of selected other than empty. You can see it used here already. And then we create a tree item, which is using SL tree item. Always strive to have unique IDs, so we use a unique ID here, a class, so we can modify it in style sheets, and we add these selected and expanded flags, or rather HTML attributes, as per the documentation. And then as a text of that item is the label of the screen. That's the text of the name of the screen that the user sees, the username. Now let's add an event listener to the item, because we want, when you click, you want to navigate to whatever the screen tab would navigate to. So this is practically screen scraping. So we're scraping the unnumbered list of screens. We create a new tree out of those screens. And for each item that you click, we find the very identified uniquely, the very LI. We find the anchor tag in it and we click it. So that's a little bit of jQuery here again. You can do it of course with native JavaScript. And that's literally click the tab. So you click the custom element and that clicks the tab in the background and the navigation just happens. Now the complex part in this function is to scrape the screen home page. So we have an option that we pass in, and that populates a parameter, expand home. So for the active screen, if we call the function with expand home, that means we are in a home page, in a screen home page, that is. We get the applets, the applet map, and get the PM for each applet and so forth. And we get a bunch of stuff, including the applet title. And then we get the content. So basically, this is a little bit convoluted, so I jump over it. So these homepage applets have recent records or frequently viewed links, and we grab these links, we grab the important part of the link, and we create another tree item, a sub item for, let's say, for each applet. And we focus on the frequently viewed and recent applet. So there's a constant here that's used to filter, because there could be more applet on a home page. So we create a sub item for each of these applets and a sub item, but these are just nested tree items. And of course the sub item needs to be clickable. So there's an event listener which grabs the important content and then again finds the anchor on the applet and clicks it. So again, we're scraping the content of the applet. This is a complex piece of code, and it's here to show the capabilities of the Shoelace tree, to expand it with any content you want, literally, that you can grab from your Siebel session. We grab it from the HTML page, or rather from the presentation models, but you can grab it, call a service or whatever, make a REST call and populate that navigation. So any custom navigation is possible. So that tree is returned by that function. So that's the drawer content function, and we go back to the function that calls it. It's the open drawer. So every time you call open drawer, you get the fresh content because it could have changed. And then if the drawer is not existent, you have to, well, get the drawer container. There's another function for us. There it is. And that literally creates that drawer, and that's a Shoelace element, Shoelace component, the drawer. So that's the side menu that flips in. You can have a placement, so start means from the left side. And well, there's a button on it to close it. So you have an example for SL button here. And that close button needs an event listener, which simply sets the, and that's the beauty of Shoelace. You just check the open property of that thing and you set it to true or false to, well, open or close it. So when you click the close button, of course you want to close it, so we set it to false. So that drawer container is returned. And we are back in the open nav drawer function. So now the drawer is appended. The drawer gets appended a div with screens. There could be more stuff in the drawer, right? And we append the screens into that container. And then, well, we open the drawer, right? And if the drawer already exists, code is a little bit shorter. Just empty the screens container, reappend the screens, because refresh, and open the drawer. Okay, so that was happened when you click the button. Screens are scraped. If we are in a home page of a screen, we scrape the home page applet, and that's it. So let's revisit that in the application. So I loaded the sample application in desktop mode. It looks a little bit different there. So here's the button. We click it, the drawer opens. The current screen content is fetched and rendered as a tree. And if we navigate to a screen that has a home page, when the home page is opened, we scrape that content of the home page. Now, to illustrate that, let me go to the local code here, to the CSS file. And in the CSS file, I've set the standard UI to be hidden. So the whole Siebel client is hidden away. Let's change that. Let's just comment this out. And reload this. So you see that, well, the home page is clearly visible, so the Siebel application is visible again, and on top we have our top navigation. So if we navigate, for example, to accounts, we can now see that the home page is actually open. We close that drawer, and that's the account homepage, and we're scraping these applets as an example. So go to accounts again, and then each click on each item is translated into a click on the real thing, which is hidden away but still there. So the whole Siebel application is always there in the background, and you can interact with it programmatically or through a very hard click event. And then go to my accounts. Well, the list applet is of course very prominently rendered here, but here's the real Siebel list applet still in place, right? So which of course we take the content of the list applet only in this demonstration. Form applet we don't care, and display the list. So just to make it easier to understand, the Siebel UI is still here. It's just hidden away by CSS, and we replace it with a new UI. Okay, back to the code, the JavaScript code. And let's go back to the post-load event handler. So we have just looked at the drawer button and what it does. There's also a little bit of a demo here to show a toast. Yeah, toasts are these little thingies that pop up on the side of your screen, bottom or top, and give you notifications. Very popular with modern web developers. So I'm checking a global variable if I should show the toast on load. Show it only once with the text Black Sheep CRM Shoelace demo loaded with a style and an icon and a duration. So that function is taken more or less directly from the Shoelace demo from the homepage. And so we create that icon, and then we have an object that we define as an alert. Shoelace has alerts, but this alert is shown with the toast function. So what happens when I call this toast function? Well, let's call it quickly so you see what happens. Just can call it from the console. bcrm toast hello Shoelace, and not passing any other parameters, so the default will happen. Okay, there you see it. It will disappear quite soon after 3 seconds. So let's do it a few more times. You see it stacks up. That's a toast stack, and disappears again. So very nice to notify the user. So I've built this in when the application is loaded for the first time. So if I do a hard reload, the application is loaded for the first time. You see the demo loaded toast comes up for a few seconds, goes away. Okay, so that's the toast. And again, we are in the post load event handler. So we have displayed the toast if necessary. And now we take care of refreshing that drawer again. When you open the drawer first, you don't know which view you're going. So now we check if the drawer is actually open, and we are not on the application home page. We are either on the application home page, or we are not on any home page view. And this is when we can close the drawer. So we have finished the navigation, close the drawer. So very much like going to a screen that doesn't have a home page like administration product. Okay. That opens that. There it is. Okay. And we have the list applet rendered immediately. So scroll up all the way. And let's see a screen with a home page. The difference is it recognizes the home page. That's what the post load code does. And then calls the function again with the option enabled to, scrape the content. So expand home to true. It closes it first and then simply opens it again, but with the fresh content. So that's very quick, and the user doesn't realize that it's closed and open. Okay, and if we are in any non-home views, then we want to scrape the list applets. So this simple demo only focuses on list applets. So first we empty the view container, and then for each applet in the view, we have the applet map. We get the applet presentation model using the component manager, one way of doing it. And we call a function passing in that presentation model. And that's the next complex functionality that we have to talk about. So that show applet is literally just doing it. It's getting the applet, the custom applet that is, the Shoelace applet, and appending it to the view container. So the main function is this one. And that's, quite a big one, but it's not so big. So we check the applet type. So we set it to other, and then if the PM has a get property, get list of columns, it must be a list applet. A very simple check, is this a list applet? And then we call a helper function to get the display record set. So I call this the display record set for a reason. Here's the function. So it gets the control set of the applet, and it gets the record set. And it has a kind of list that we do not interested in. So when there are some columns in hierarchy applets, we're not really interested. So the RD, the record definitions, are here. So we iterate through that. And we get for each record, basically, we get the display name using the control. So that gets you the real display name, not the business component field name. The display name could be translated. So the key functionality here is get the record set with the display names instead of the business component field names or the control names for a form applet. So, and that's passed in as an array. So the array rs is passed back. So here we have the rs. It looks like a record set, but instead of the field or control names, we have the display or user visible names. We need the raw record set as well. We get the selection. So that's the index of the selected record, currently active record. We get the applet full ID. And then we start with a container again. And it's just a div we call bcrmsl-applet. There are many techniques of doing this. And we want to use Shoelace. So here for list applets only, we iterate the record set with the display values, the, let's say, custom record set that we created, and set the record, get the row ID using the raw record set, always gives you the row ID. And then we check if the ID is undefined or not undefined, and then we create an SL card. So another Shoelace component. We're collecting quite a few Shoelace components here, drawer and tree and card. So do check them out on the Shoelace homepage. So here we are again on the Shoelace homepage. Here's card. Well, we don't display kittens, but we display, well, the fields of the record. So it's just a basic card, literally. So that's a card. It's practically a container. If the current record is the selected record, we add a class for better CSS. Then for each field in the record, ignoring the select all fields on mobile, we create a field container, and then we populate the label container, and we populate the value container. So that's the display name, and that's the value of the field. So it's not very intelligent, not very clever. It's just a bunch of containers nested and appended to the card, and the card then appended to its parent container in the end. So, and we return that container. That's practically, it's a one card that is, it's a container with one card per record. And that is then appended to the view container. And Shoelace does the magic, and CSS has something to say here as well. So we're almost there. So we have shown how the list applets get generated, and then we scrape again the document title without anything before the first colon. I realized could be done in a simpler way, but it's okay. So usually the application title is something like my accounts colon ABC account. And we don't want that. We just want my accounts. So we're basically populating that title element so the user knows where they are. And that's the post load handler. So we are through. All we have to look at now is the CSS, which is, you can of course get it on the GitHub. And it's practically simple. So we have one override for Shoelace. Actually, it's not really true. There's a second one. But yeah, this is a custom entry. Okay, so the real shoelace override, we only override the toast stack to show on the bottom, not on top, and in reverse. So that's what I wanted. And then we have the custom elements. So we have the top navigation, the title that we just covered, we just populated, the view container, the applet container, the card, the field, the labels, and the beauty of Shoelace as well, it has a pseudo class called part. So that's my card, and the selected one. There's only one card that's selected. So I can select the body part of that card and set the background to light blue. So the selected record is a light blue background. And then, of course, the very important hiding the standard UI. You don't want to see it. You want to scrape it. And so let's copy that style sheet over. Let's apply it again. And reload. So now we don't see the application anymore. So let's start navigating. And yes, we have a list of accounts. Let's reload this one more time, get the desktop experience. Okay, so we have a very simplistic application. Nothing like Siebel, the standard Siebel. You cannot even select a record. That would be an event listener for a click on a card, right? But then you have to make sure that the presentation model is updated with the selection. You cannot edit anything. You can't even search or query. So there's a lot of things that are not in this demo. So what we focused in this demo was how can we use a third-party library like Shoelace or any other library literally to take content from what is available in the OpenUI application through HTML, through the physical renderers, through the presentation model, or any services or REST calls we can make, and then render it in a, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, render it in a nice fashion so it also supports, let's say, mobile mobility use cases. So let's once more try, maybe fit this. Does it fit on a phone? I honestly don't know, but yes, it does. Okay, so it would fit on a phone, and maybe that's half the way you want to go. So yeah, hope you enjoyed that demo, and check out the code on GitHub. Thanks much for watching. Take care and bye-bye.